Hi, it's Melanie. Recently, I've been thinking about the El Reno tornado of May 31st, 2013. It was a while ago, but I was there chasing, and I've never really talked about my experience that much. Recently, it has come up quite a bit when we've been talking about tornado safety with other chasers and how this day really changed a lot about how storm chasers think about chasing storms, essentially, and really just keeping in mind safety ahead of everything else. Some people stopped chasing for a while. Some people decided not to try to get quite as close to tornadoes after this day. It's really changed a lot as far as how we view things when we're chasing storms, and really a reminder of how powerful Mother Nature is. As many know, this day was a very tragic day in storm chasing history. In fact, it was definitely one of the most intense, well, it was the most intense and scary days of my life chasing storms. Peggy and I were chasing on this day, and we actually had a guest with us and another person, a photographer who was following in his own vehicle. So it was actually really interesting because it wasn't just us chasing. We had other people we were responsible for. We actually started out the day in El Reno, on this map up here, El Reno in Oklahoma, waiting around for storms to develop along with other storm chasers. And when the storm developed, it just exploded so quickly. We ended up staying on the storm briefly, but because of the traffic at this time, as many people know, it was a really crazy situation with traffic. It was around rush hour around Oklahoma City. So it was a lot of people trying to escape from this storm and this tornado. I wanted to show a map here of the tornado. So it started at 6:04. This is from the National Weather Service, their survey results. And as you can see along its path, it grew wider. And, first it was going south, pretty direct, southeast. Then it started going east, and then it took a sharp turn here and started moving back north, which is kind of an interesting direction. So this tornado is known to have changed very quickly, which is why it took a lot of people off guard. It not only shifted its path, but it also widened very quickly, within a minute, I believe, to the widest tornado ever recorded at 2.6 miles wide. It also had several smaller vortices within that large tornado that took people off guard as well. And unfortunately, as many people know, famous researcher and storm chaser Tim Samaras, along with his son Paul Samaras, and his partner Carl Young, chasing partner, unfortunately, they were struck by one of those small subvortices and died in this tornado, which is another reason that so many of us walked away from this day with very heavy hearts and a lot of grief and a lot of reflection on what we're doing and how we can do it more safely. So after it turned north, crossed the interstate, I-40, it meandered a little bit just north of the interstate, just kind of right in this area, just southeast of El Reno. And then it came back down and actually went right along I-40 and eventually died out. But the storm system continued moving east and eventually more south, actually kind of wobbled a little bit, and went on to produce several more tornadoes after this one. This was obviously the biggest tornado of the day. It ended up getting rated an EF3, even though radar indicated wind speeds close to 300 miles per hour. However, because of the damage survey, which is how they determine the strength of a tornado, it was rated an EF3 after the damage survey. I'm not going to go through all the data analysis. I just wanted to review a quick overview of this day because it is so well known. I know a lot of people already know all this stuff, but I just wanted to review it because it's been a while. And then I wanted to share some of my raw footage from the day, which isn't that exciting as far as the video goes, but it's really interesting to listen to the audio and just a reminder of what a day this was. So as you can see, the mesoscale discussion, which is what the Storm Prediction Center issues before they put out a severe watch or tornado watch, really gives an overview of what's happening in the atmosphere. You can see the intersection of the dry line here, along with this cold front boundary. And basically at the intersection of these boundaries is where we've got the most highest probability of seeing that large tornado. What happened to us? We tried to go south, basically right here on 81, as the storm was coming our way. The tornado hadn't quite yet developed. We're trying to just get south as far as we could. Another thing that happened on this day, we were using mobile radar product, and when it kept dropping the radar. So we were having a hard time keeping our radar up, which made it even that much scarier. So we're just trying to get south, but we're completely stuck in traffic and we couldn't get anywhere. One of our friends ended up going through some side roads, which is kind of risky at times, but luckily it worked out for him. And what we did, we ended up going back north and heading east on I-40 to try to get ahead of this storm before we drop south, just so we'd have enough time. Again, thinking safety is our #1 concern, because it was a big day and we knew it. We all knew it. We did not want to get stuck too close to this storm. So we booked east on 40. And normally we drop south, and try to stay as close as we could to a storm, because you want to be able to see it. If you're too far away, you really can't see anything. And if you're just, wanting to observe the storm, document it, see what's happening, see the features on the storm, take pictures or video, you need to be somewhat close to it. But on this day, we just could not find a road to get south where we weren't completely stuck on traffic, and not knowing exactly how this storm was going to move, because it was moving more easterly at first. We just did not want to drop south if we couldn't get south because of traffic. So we kept going east for quite a while, and we didn't have many options of where to get south. We went east, like to Oklahoma City, basically, and then we dropped south. So we were between Reno and Moore. We were a good solid 10 to 15 miles, somewhere between there, away from the storm at this point. And the tornado had just started. So when we positioned ourselves in a field where we could see the storm, we were quite a ways away, but we could still see the storm. Because it was an HP kind of day, high precipitation, it was hard, even if you were close to the storm, to see the tornado, and especially because it got to be so wide, and there's just a lot of rain wrapping around it, a lot of dust, a lot of rain. So especially from our distance, we really couldn't see the tornado. And every now and then we kind of thought maybe it looked like there's a big wedge in there, but we weren't sure. Sure enough, it was a big wedge. And when we were watching it, it was from, the video I have is from right around 6:15. I have it listed exactly, through basically the end of this El Reno tornado. From our position, being so far away, you can see that wedge in there, but it's not much in the way of video. But it was interesting during that whole time while we're talking to our storm chasing friends and other people, learning what was happening and realizing how horrific this tornado and this storm was. And this whole system ended up moving closer to us fairly quickly. And we ended up right on the edge of it when it was producing more tornadoes. They were not as strong as this one. It did not last that long, but it was quite eerie. And then at first we had roads that were okay, and then traffic got really bad again. So luckily we weren't completely stopped in traffic, but it was scary because we could barely keep ahead of it, because it shifted. That whole system just started moving south, and we were trying to get south as fast as we could, with being safe as we could as well on the road. But that whole traffic scene was a completely different story. So I'm not going to get into that. So I'm going to take you into the video now, and with this raw footage from our day. When I was looking over it recently, I just realized, wow, our audio kind of reflects what a dangerous situation this was, and the little bit of video I have just shows what our experience was. And you can briefly see the tornado, the El Reno tornado. And then you can see how close we were to this storm as another tornado was developing and moving our way. We didn't know at the time for sure if there was a tornado in there still, because you really, again, couldn't see that well, even when the storm was close to you because of all the rain. And it was a pretty hazy day with all that moisture in the air. Not the best contrast, but we knew we just had to keep getting south and stay ahead of it. Even when radar was dropping out, we couldn't get a good visual on the radar. Even if you can't see the tornado that well, it's always good to make sure you're at a distance where you feel safe and not in a position to get overrun. So, I mean, that it's going to be different for every storm. And this storm, again, was unpredictable and did things that most storms do not, most tornadoes do not do. But all tornadoes are not extremely predictable. So you want to be a safe distance. People ask, well, what is a safe distance? And it's going to depend the type of storm it is and how fast that storm is moving and where you're at relative to the storm. I mean, if you're behind the tornado and you're outside of the storm, then, you know, you can approach it somewhat safely without worrying about it hitting you. Then you want to pay attention, just make sure you're not under an area where another tornado could develop or where you could be affected by the current one. Anyway, let's go on to the video from this day. Again, it's mostly the audio that's interesting. The video is not my finest piece of work, I will admit, but it's just an interesting perspective of our view and where we were at on this pretty infamous day in storm chasing history. So thanks for listening and enjoy the raw footage.
Even the back roads are going to get clogged up.
Yeah, we know I know we're far enough south.
But I'm saying the traffic then.
Yeah.
Will be
right.
Heading and even the road.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be in.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye on radar to make sure everything.
Is this running?
Yeah. I'm just gonna record it for a little bit.
And this is one item. They're all bad, but famous storm chaser Mike, and they wouldn't give his last name. His car was picked up, thrown 200 yards, and they wouldn't tell who it, you know, like who it is or what its condition was. That's just something to say it out. Mike Dennis, the TV guy. Jesus. Are they? Do you know anything about them? I mean, are they okay? Well, just you be safe, and we're going to stay here because we've got a view. I mean, we're not very close, and it won't be like your view, but at least we know we're safe. So, all right, check in later. All right. Mike Bennett at the Weather Channel, and Brad saw the wedge. It was coming right at him.
But all he could do was get out of the way.
Because Brad was the guy who was following with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
but he had to go south to get out of the way.
Just to get out of it. That's just it. And that's where I got concerned when we were on I-40. Yeah. There was no place to turn around.
Right.
And that's what worries me. Then you're trapped.
Yeah.
That's why we have to make sure it's...
You see, look at the traffic here is backed up again. That's all these guys.
Yeah.
That went that way. I think there's an accident at the top of the hill.
Oh. All we could do was navigate ahead of it so that we'd be safe. We're watching the storm right now. We're at a safe distance, so we're in a field, just watching it pass by. Yeah? Oh yeah, it's still going, and there's a tornado on the ground. around now. We can't see it because it's in the rain, but we're just gonna watch it pass, and because it was really hard because it was rush hour in Oklahoma City.
That one coming down?
It kind of looks like it. Looks like.
Here, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this movie thing. Here's the contrast.
Hang on. Yeah. Oh yeah. So anyway, I wanted to let you know I'm okay. Okay, I mean we're still chasing right now, but we love you.
Well, you're trapped.
Yeah, but you know what?
That was my feeling instantly. I just went instinctively, okay, I'm going to get trapped if I stay here. That's right, you can't. Well, just past the exit where we turned around.
Yeah. Well, you could see that it was coming.
Yeah.
And then Brad saw it head on.
So, Brad's okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
They're heading south as fast as they can. He said, get out of town.
I don't blame him, man.
No, he said the internet, freeway, people are just
It was mayhem. I mean, it was like a movie. Keep being aware of where it is, you know.
How do we feel about this next part of the storm?
I'll take a look at the tracks.
I looked at, yeah, the radar went out, but we still have GPS, so I don't want to restart it.
Okay. These guys have iPad radar too, and so we can see what they're getting the weather channels download that app. I think there's a big one on the ground right in there.
There might be something here where that one last lightning towers. You can see there's an opening, and then it looks like there's something dark in it.
Yeah, I see that.
It's so hard to tell with the rain wrap.
I know.
There's something coming down right where the towers are.
Right where the towers are.
Yeah. Oh, I saw it when the lightning flashed. That could be the whole thing. Could be a tornado.
Yeah, when it's a wet, that's what it looks like. You can't see it.
I mean, the whole. You can have to hope that we get something with lightning behind it to really see it. But I want to go take. We do still have the GPS.
Yeah.
There's two things.
I just got to make sure that it's moving a little bit south.
Yeah, this you can see.
Look, watch.
I saw something picking up. Not there, no, over here.
See the white area? That's awfully close. Come on, let's go. This is too close. This is a wild storm.
All right, 1 second.
Where are we going?
Just south. South. South.
We have time for a shot or
No, we gotta go. If you're not on 96th Street, then turn left, go east to 96th Street, and then keep going south. Turn right on 96. There's hardly any traffic on it.
basically watching a storm. And, you know, if we're not, we're just going, if it's doing this, then we're doing this. So we're just taking evasive action. So, is it hitting Norman now? How many tornadoes have there been?